Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back to share with you a list of things that I no longer own. I know that I made some videos in the past about things that I no longer buy or beauty products and personal care products that I no longer buy. But these things that I'm about to share with you are not things that are purchased on a regular basis. These are things that are kind of more permanent, but still of common usage. Of course, keep in mind that this is my list, so this is what I don't currently own or no longer own according to my lifestyle. These things might change, and of course for you it might be different because everybody has a different lifestyle, different habits, so lives in different places. So by no means this is bad if you own any of this. I just thought it would be interesting for you to hear a little bit more about my life, what I no longer own. Moving abroad was for me a huge change in terms of lifestyle habits, and alongside with that I slowly started realizing that I needed way less than I owned or that I used to own to live a healthy, happy life. The first thing that I no longer own, and I'm so happy that I no longer own it because I hate driving, is a car. I used to live in a teeny tiny country where public transportation was not super well organized and almost non-existent. So I literally had to take the car to go anywhere. And on top of that, my country is basically developed on a small mountain. So walking everywhere wasn't really a thing. I used to own a used car, so I bought it basically secondhand back at the time, and it served its purpose. But finally, when I moved to different cities and to different countries, I finally realized that I no longer had to own a car. I can finally totally rely on public transportation system. I mentioned it earlier, here in Berlin is amazing. And if I don't feel like taking public transportation, I just simply walk wherever I want to go. If it is within walking distance, I love walking. Not very much of a bike person. I really love the fact that I no longer have to rely on all of the costs and the kind of hassle that maintaining a car requires. I just simply pay my yearly pass for public transportation on a monthly, like with a monthly fee, which is much cheaper than what maintaining a car would actually requires. I'm happy to live in a city that allows me to be moving freely without spending that much money. The next thing I no longer own is a TV. I used to think back at the time, sad but true, that a TV was one of those must-have items in a house. When my partner and I moved abroad, we didn't own a TV and we started to live without it, and we found ourselves perfectly fine with not owning a TV. Right now, all of our sources of entertainment or information eventually comes 100% from the internet. So if we need to look for news or for any kind of stuff, we just look on the internet. If we need to watch something and we feel like watching a movie or watching something, either we do it either from YouTube or we have a cheapest Netflix subscription. So we do own a Netflix subscription if we want to watch a movie or a TV series, which we're very into usually, especially in wintertime. But other than that, we don't have an actual TV because we watch everything on our laptops. The next thing that I no longer own is a wardrobe, which I know might sound really silly, but if you've been sticking around here for a while, then you might have noticed in previous videos that we don't have an actual wardrobe. We have clothing racks, one for me and one for Babe. Basically, after 1 year of long distance relationship, when I was moving back with him, he basically had to move to a different apartment when I moved to a different country. So he was basically living in this very apartment by himself. So it was basically equipped for one person. So when I was about to move with him together, again, he asked me if he just owned a hand-me-down clothing rack, and he asked me, do you want to get a wardrobe maybe for all of your stuff? And because I didn't own much already, I was already into minimalism, I said, you know what, I think purchasing a second clothing rack would probably be much better, and I think it will work just as fine. So yeah, we just have one clothing rack each. We didn't want the hassle of having a big bulky wardrobe. I wish closets were more of a thing here in Europe because they're so neat. Everything is stored there and they don't take actual space out from the room. But yeah, I just basically store all of the seasonal clothes plus the essentials like PJs and underwear on the clothing rack, and then the rest of the clothes into a suitcase. Next thing I no longer own are makeup products. A couple of months ago, I shared a decluttering video of my already small makeup collection, and aside from one product that I am trying to use up and that I've almost used up, I don't own any sort of makeup products, and I don't see myself buying makeup products, at least in the foreseeable future. I want to go completely makeup free, which I know this might not be for everyone. I went from being someone who couldn't leave the apartment without having some makeup on her face to being someone who is slowly getting comfortable in being in her own skin. The next thing I no longer own is a radio, stereo, or CD player. Basically, like for TV, all of our source of music comes from the internet. So either from YouTube, again, online stream radios, or from Spotify. We don't own a Spotify subscription, so we use the free version, which we think it's perfectly fine. And alongside with this, since we no longer own radios or CDs players, of course we don't own any CDs, and because we also don't own any DVD player anymore or any sort of, I don't know, cassette player. Are video cassettes still a thing? I don't think so. We also don't own any DVDs. So no CDs, no DVDs, nothing of that sort. Again, we watch everything on our laptops. My laptop doesn't even have the slot for CDs. And I've been having that laptop for 4 years. So apparently 4 years ago, it wasn't a thing anymore to own any CDs or DVDs. We do have a record player though. That's Babe's portable record player and a small collection of records. So whenever we have guests coming over or we feel like having kind of a vintagey, cozy atmosphere, we pop on a record. The next thing I no longer own is a big handbag collection. I've never been much of a shopaholic, but I was a total sucker for handbags. I used to own tons of them, and I had no designer handbags, but I used to have like a couple of more expensive handbags, real leather ones, and alongside with them I used to have mostly very cheap handbags of all sizes, colors, you name it. And apparently I was never satisfied with them. I was always on a regular, much on a regular basis on the quest for the perfect handbag. Luckily, within the past few years, I realized that I don't need that much to be happy. Now I own a very small collection of handbags. Each one of them serves a purpose, and I use them, all of them, regularly, and they all match my wardrobe, so I don't have to worry about pairing my handbag with my outfit, that kind of stuff. Next thing I no longer own are perfumes or body mists. I used to be obsessed with wearing perfume because I personally liked the idea of smelling fresh and nice and leaving a nice, pleasant smell everywhere I was going. But I personally started to drop these habits again since I moved abroad and I started downsizing my stuff. And especially since I started making my own deodorant at home, which is the best deodorant that I've ever used. I guess it was, using perfume was more of a thing like being afraid of being smelly or sweating and not being like super fresh. But since I started making my own deodorant, I realized that I no longer stink, even when it's very hot, because that deodorant is really effective. So I no longer am afraid of leaving my body smell the way that it smells, because I no longer stink, but I do have my natural body odor, and I think I am fine with it. The next thing I no longer own is a home phone. I think this is probably becoming more and more common, but I have my cell phone, Babe has his cell phone, so we don't need the necessity of paying an extra fee for having the phone here, plus having the actual phone and the cords and cables and all that stuff. So having paying for our cell phone and having the cell phone is more than enough, and it's been working really well for the past, I think, 5 years or so. Next thing I no longer own are non-natural body products. I made an entire video about my toiletries and beauty products and all of the things that I use or that I no longer use because I no longer buy. I do most of the things myself, like deodorant, mouthwash, body scrub and face scrub recently, over the past few months, dry shampoo and face masks, all of that kind of stuff. And they're all completely natural, very few ingredients. So everything that comes from drugstores or everything that I can ditch because I do it myself, I no longer own it. The next thing I no longer own is a book collection. I do have a teeny tiny selection of books, but I no longer have a bookshelf full of actual books. I know that this might seem a little controversial for some of you. I love reading, so I can understand how hard it might be to get rid of your books or no longer own a big book collection that makes you feel happy. If that's what you want and if that's what makes you feel happy, having a lot of books around you, then go for it. But I learned to do without them, so I rarely buy any books in these days, and if I do, I either donate them or give them to somebody else, or most of the times I get them from the library. And finally, this also might sound very weird. The next thing we no longer own are actual drinking glasses. I know that this sounds a little crazy, but we do not own actual drinking glasses. We just basically collected some glass jars that all look the same. So in this way we can use them multi-purpose. We kept the lids, and if we need to store anything in the fridge or in the freezer, we can double them as actual containers. But when I moved here, Babe had like some very mismatched drinking glasses that we didn't really like, and then we're taking kind of a lot of space in our small storage space in the kitchen. So we thought about maximizing that space by collecting jars that all look the same. We used some jam jars, I think, all the same looking. We kept lids, and in this way we can just use them in multiple ways. This is my list of things that I no longer own. I'm going to list down below the videos I was talking about things I no longer buy. Let me know if there's anything off this list or your own list that you no longer own. I'd love to know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you still haven't. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!